I'm Tom Osman, and this is Whatever Comes Next, the podcast where I explore the world of underground and independent music making. And on today's episode, I am talking with Simon Bryant of extreme metal project Blunt Knife Castration, a project which up to this point has been entirely the work of Simon, but in fact, as we speak, he is in the process of going through rehearsals as a three-piece with two musicians that he has brought in to make Blunt Knife Castration a musical project that can be taken to stages. In the near future, I suppose in Kent, where Simon is based, and then potentially spanning further out around the UK, and then who knows what is possible after that. Now, chances are, if you are not someone who is into the heavier end of rock music, metal music, the more gory side of rock and metal music, you probably haven't even clicked on this to watch this video or listen to it. But if you have, then cool, good on you. And if you like the darker, more grotesque end of heavy music, then I suppose probably nothing here is particularly going to shock you. You might think to yourself, with such a gory name, that this would be a sort of a gory death metal project in the vein of Cannibal Corpse. But in fact, well, one thing is that, as Simon talks about in this interview, there is the scope for the music of Blunt Knife Castration to kind of go in any direction from one release to the next. And indeed, on the debut record, Live Fast, Die Slow, you'll hear more of a kind of a groove metal sort of sound that I think immediately has certain associations with bands like Crowbar or White Zombie, whereas this forthcoming record, Blood and Oil, is a lot more in the noisy, grim Eyehategod vein. I mean, one of the things which immediately piqued my interest when I got sent the press release for this album was the reference to Today is the Day, who are one of my favorite bands, as probably anybody who has listened to or watched any other episodes will know, because I mention them all the time. And you can't really get a band that sounds like Today is the Day. So it would be wrong to say that Blunt Knife Castration sounds like Today is the Day, but I do think there is something of the spirit of Today is the Day in the sense that you never really know what to expect, certainly from what I have heard so far from this project. But yes, Blood and Oil is noisy, it is grim, it is nasty, it is a sludge metal of sorts, but I think you will hear for yourself when you hear the record that there is a certain kind of experimental edge to all of this. This is not kind of like a fixed formula where you can expect this to sound the same from one record to the next. Certainly not if you go back and listen to the previous record. Anyway, the first principle of these interviews is always, whatever the style of music, that it is going to be something that I personally enjoy. Beyond that, I was interested to talk to Simon as well, because I understood that he had had a difficult experience recently where he'd had a surgery that had gone wrong and that he'd had to relearn how to play guitar. As it turns out from this interview, that actually kind of corresponded with the whole origins of this musical project. So that's a very interesting, fairly unique story, I would say. And another interesting and unique part of this story is that, as you will hear from Simon, for many years he actually really was quite separated from heavy music, and in fact was still doing creative things within music, but in a very, very different area. So rather than spoiling that, I will let you hear that from Simon himself. You can, if you would like to follow Blunt Knife Castration, find them on Instagram and Facebook. You just need to type in the name and they'll be there straight away. Blood and Oil will be released this Friday on Remorseless Records. You can get hold of a copy on Bandcamp. You can get it digitally or on CD. You can go to Remorseless Records directly, particularly if you're in North America. You'll be able to get the album on various different streaming services. And yeah, you can follow me at Tom Osman Sounds. You can go to my website, tomosmansounds.com, to check out my music and writings about it. And beyond that, I suppose I could just mention the fact that I do have some very cool interviews in the pipeline, which have already been recorded, that will be coming out in the coming weeks. Not necessarily metal, not necessarily metal at all. But in the meantime, metal it is. And before this interview, you will hear a little clip from one of the singles from Blood and Oil, Guilt Pig, and I will play that in full at the end of the interview. And so, with that said, Simon Bryant of Blunt Knife Castration, take it away.
Hi, Tom.
Simon, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Oh, and not only are you wearing a Today is the Day shirt, you're wearing the shirt for my favorite Today is the Day album. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah, I did that deliberately. I
Well,
saw
I
your interview with Steve
yeah.
and also your discussion with Ethan from Primitive Man. And I thought
Ah.
um you literally like nailed it with picking that as like your favorite album because that is like love it.
Well, I very nearly wore my public castration is a good idea t-shirt in honor
Oh,
of
brilliant.
Blunt Knife
Yeah.
Castration, but I decided it was a little bit too on the nose. So I
Yeah.
went for I went for
Yeah, it might
Crowbar
be.
instead.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Brilliant album.
Yeah, they
Brilliant
were just
album.
they were just in Glasgow 2 nights ago, so I got to see
Oh,
them
wow.
play. They were pretty cool.
Oh, fantastic.
It was nice as well because it was sold out, and also there were a lot of really young people at the show. Like I wouldn't have
Yeah.
necessarily thought that Crowbar would manage to capture a really young audience. So I thought that's cool that
No.
they've a new generation of metal fans is
Yeah.
discovering Crowbar.
I think the same with like Eyehategod as well. Like they see, and I think maybe it could be something to do with the resurgence of acid bath.
That's a good
Who
point.
like come back into obviously like the zeitgeist in the last couple of years. And I think maybe that's introduced like younger audiences to this whole plethora of sludge, like especially like the Louisiana uh,
Yeah.
like side of it. So yeah.
It was funny as well because I haven't seen any pictures of you from the press content about Blunt Knife Castration. I thought, I wonder what you're going to look like. You look so fresh. You look so fresh faced. Who would ever know that you were
Yeah,
making
that's
dirty, grimy,
yeah.
noisy sludge metal?
Yeah, that's definitely by design. I don't want well currently I don't really want like photos or anything. I might change that in the future, but yeah, I don't know. Something feels really quite strange about having to have my photo taken and just
Yeah.
it's just that's not really what it's about for me.
Do you I've done this before. Do you want me to blur your face out for the video?
No, oh God, no, no, no. It's not. I'm not like anonymous,
Yeah.
but like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So you're based in Kent, right?
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about Kent, but what is Kent like in terms of music scene?
music scene. See, I'm not a huge like, oh, let's go out every weekend, let's go to gigs and things like locally. However, from doing like blunt knife and everything, I've kind of like realized that there is actually quite a big scene down here, which I had no idea about. So there's loads of, for a start, Kent has a lot of like universities and things. And I assume that's probably a way of like, especially younger people meeting, forming bands and, getting ideas going. But yeah, through things like Instagram and stuff, I mean, I didn't realize there's such a scene for punk here, hardcore, sludge, even noise, like just pure noise artists. And yeah, I'm quite surprised because I feel like Kent is, not to like downplay it, but like I think Kent sort of is it's called the Garden of England, and I can't imagine people would assume like, oh yeah, like this like band who are singing about like the most heinous stuff like originate from the Garden of England.
Yeah.
Like it's but yeah, it really surprised me. And there's a lot. of promoters and things who are putting on shows that are sort of like incorporating these new bands and things, and it doesn't seem to be like, oh, you must play a specific genre to get on the bill. Like they seem to mix it, which again I think is quite good. Like that's a really good thing, that it gives people like chances to come in and play, and who might not necessarily have a chance if it's like a hardcore only bill, or if it's like a doom metal bill or something, and someone's like, yeah, I'm a bit more noise like things. So yeah, it seems like quite a big sort of melting pot here. And I, like I say, I had no idea about it really until I started doing Blunt Knife, and I actually have now got two guys on to Blunt Knife now who, so we're sort of thinking about doing a live show for this now as a three piece. And again, had no idea that these guys were around before I did this, and it's all through social networking and things that I've met with them. We're starting rehearsals at the weekend, and yeah, it feels so much more vibrant than I thought, to be honest, which is really nice. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that is cool. Because also as well, like from various different people that I've spoken to from time to time who maybe make music that is a bit more difficult to put into sort of like a neat box.
Hmm.
Certain people have said to me, oh, it's quite hard to get onto bills because of that sense that people go like, well, this is going to be doom bands or this is going to
Yeah,
be sludge bands or whatever else.
yeah.
So I think as a listener, it's nice to get things which are more varied, but I can understand that if you want to try and sort of fit into a scene, that's not always the easy thing because people don't really know what to do with you necessarily.
I think so, yeah. And I think like that's kind of I can imagine that might be an issue for like me, well, us, because I don't want to just be sort of seen as sludge. I want to be seen as kind of a mixture of everything, really, to just be able to slot into any kind of bill. So that might not be an issue down here, but it might be an issue maybe future wise if we were to play further afield, maybe, and people were
Yeah.
kind of like, well, how can we market you? Like, you're kind of fast, but you're kind of slow, you're kind of noisy, but you're kind of groovy. Like,
Mm.
but again, that's by design. And I think hopefully maybe more bands like that I've discovered recently seem to be doing that as well, like crossing over. And yeah, I mean, I think genre is a weird thing anyway. Like music's subjective. What someone might consider is harsh, other people might be like, that's my jam. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just it's a human need to just put things in boxes, like
Yep.
if something's heavy and it moves you, then let them join your bill, play, so
Yeah. Yeah. And also as well, I think for a lot of people, definitely me included, if I was going to go to a festival, I was going to go to a show that had a lineup of a bunch of bands. I don't want every band to sound the same. I want there to be
yeah,
variety. So it's like maybe sometimes promoters might be kind of like scared of that and they think that people just want to have one particular thing when they don't necessarily.
100%. Yeah, I think a good example is Roadburn.
Yeah.
They obviously, I think each year they have a different artist like curate lineups. I think one of the best years, I think I could be wrong if it was 2017 or 2018, Jacob Bannon from Converge curated it. And you had people like Godspeed You Black Emperor, but then you also had, I'm pretty sure you had like Godflesh. And it's like those could be the two most polar opposite kind of bands. And I just think, yeah, that's a really it's yeah, you don't want to stand there watching, like you say, for like 5-6 hours the same. You would just get so fatigued by it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of the sound that is going on with Blunt Knife Castration, so I've listened to some of the first album, Live Fast, Die Slow,
Mm,
which is definitely like I do hear a lot of groove in that. Like there are bits where I was like, oh, okay, this like reminds a bit of maybe like White Zombie or a bit of Crowbar in
yeah.
the riffing. And I saw that you'd put in the press release how you wanted to go for something darker and something noisier for Blood and Oil. And I definitely hear that, like right from the beginning, with these samples that you've got, the different sort of little spoken word samples, which instantly make it unsettling. And
Sure.
just sort of like the tone overall, it sounds dirtier and nastier and more unpleasant. Like there were bits from listening to the album, just like, oh, this is like so disgusting, but like, in a good way. Like I like the disgusting nature of it. So how much of that was songwriting versus the way that you recorded it?
My kind of like songwriting process is very different, like with each uh, song, really. Like, I don't know how something's going to get born, really. It comes from ideas and things or riffs, but it was definitely intentional to make this new album, Blood and Oil. Just, I don't want to, like, again, not to keep bringing up Steve, like from Today Is the Day, but I really resonate with his ethos of I do not want to repeat myself with each album, and I don't want to do that at all. Like, I specifically made Live Fast Die Slow to be more groovy, to be more kind of like accessible, I suppose, and really sort of channeling like 90s, like almost like hard rock in a way in some bits, like, but yeah, with sludge as well. But with this one, yeah, I wanted it to be just more miserable, nihilistic, just unpleasant. And I think really when I write songs, and when I was writing for this, I kind of I had it in my head that I wanted it to be in a way more personal as well. So I wanted the kind of mission statement for it was kind of, right, I want it to be more about kind of loneliness as well as paranoia, as well as like feelings of misanthropy, and just feeling just kind of claustrophobic, where you know you don't feel like you fit in with your own species, kind of thing. And so that was kind of channeling through the whole album. And I would find, like, see, film again is another inspiration. So sometimes I can be watching, I don't know, like, for example, 120 Days of Sodom, Salo.
Yeah.
Um, or I can be watching a really good film that actually did really inspire this, was Clean Shaven,
I
by
don't
Lost
think I know that
Berrigan.
one.
So that is about schizophrenia, and it's with the late, really sad actually, the late Peter Green, who I think he died early this year actually, or maybe late last year. But I was watching that and I was like, this, to be in the mind of that, is like, I really want to do a song kind of based on that. And I just, yeah, it's very much, like I say, it's very, every kind of song seems to be born differently. Sometimes, like, I will have the thought of like, oh, I want it to be about this. This is how musically it sounds in my head. And then other times it will be like, I will just be writing riffs on the guitar, and then I'll just be like, right, now I need to put drums onto this. And then vocals sometimes can be just almost a stream of consciousness on it. And then other times they're very deliberate, and like, this is the theme I want for that. And yeah, so it's kind of like, it's different for each kind of song, but hopefully it it sort of marries up nicely. Well, I hope anyway, like on Blood and Oil, and there's kind of a consistent theme of that. Hopefully that makes sense.
There's definitely a consistent sound to it as a listener. I can't make out what you're singing, so I have to take your word for it in terms of the lyrical content. But
Yeah.
that was one thing I was curious about, because I was thinking, for people that aren't um like what you were saying before, like you might have something that's as a music fan, you might have something that's really abrasive that
Mm.
some people might go like, oh, what the hell is this, and you're like, that's like really nice. Like I sometimes
Yeah.
find I'll be listening to some really brutally harsh music, and then I'll think, isn't it funny how this is just really nice to me? And like, if you put
Yeah.
it in the context for someone who doesn't appreciate certain abrasive music, they
Mm.
might think, how the hell could you find that kind of pleasant or endearing? But I was thinking to myself that for a lot of people, if they see Blunt Knife Castration, they're going to go, well, that's just like horrible. But I was thinking, you reference crust punk, and I don't know if it's like an inner sleeve that you're going to have, but I saw some artwork for the album that wasn't the cover, but it was sort of like a sort of a collage type of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
And that made me think of sort of like classic grindcore bands like Carcass.
yeah,
And I thought that's also another example where on the outside people might look at that and go like, oh, that's just gore for the sake of gore. But obviously they were very socially conscious. They were all vegans, I think, and like Napalm Death as well. A lot of that stuff is actually like sort of socio-political commentary.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm thinking to myself that probably for you with blunt knife castration, there's a lot more than just gore for the sake of gore.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. To start with, when I first started this, I released a demo. It was like I considered it like the first album, but really looking back, it isn't. It's just a demo called Chewed Up and Spat Out, and that was kind of me finding my feet a little bit with this. And basically, I was kind of like wanting to do almost shock and, like you say, gore for the sake of shock and things, and almost like in a cheesy way. And as I was doing it, and as I like released that or self-release that, put that out, I was like, actually, this is a really good outlet for me to kind of go a bit more serious with this and like a bit more personal rather than just like, oh, let's sing about, murder and stuff like that. I mean, it's I look back, I mean, it's not even that old. It's only a couple of years ago I started this thing, but like I move very quickly and I'm always thinking, where am I going to go now? Like what's my next kind of thing? So yeah, I started out like that. I absolutely was influenced by horror massively, like the grime of 70s, 80s, like what's his name? Lucio Fulci movies, like Zombie Flesh Eaters and the Beyond, like just that grimy kind of aesthetic that is in those like 70s Italian horror films. I wanted to make that into music, and that's where I was getting. It was very, very sample based as well. I was finding like really obscure B movies and just ripping samples out of that to throw in the music. And yeah, so that was kind of like, yeah, that's what I wanted Blunt Knife Castration to be. But it's over the last couple of years now, it's just evolved, and now it's more, particularly like I say with this one, it's more personal. I mean, it's more in your face, but it's more to me, it's kind of matured, like I think. And I'm still finding my feet. I mean, this project is still really in its infancy, so like God knows what it will sound like maybe in 5 years time. I have no idea, but yeah, yeah,
And you mentioned how you're just about to start rehearsing with so it's going to as a three piece you're
yeah.
planning to do shows. So it's ambiguous like on Bandcamp, but I guess because no other players are mentioned in any of the recordings, does that mean that everything that you've done with Blunt Knife Castration up to this point has all been recorded by you?
Yeah, it's all been completely solo. But it was always my intention to maybe not to have gone this long being solo, but it was almost always my intention to eventually get this maybe on the road and like get playing shows and things. I'm not like I think I mentioned it earlier. Like I like my own company kind of thing. I don't have a large circle of friends. I'm quite introverted really, and so the thought sometimes of like, oh my God, I've got to play a show is terrifying. However, you've got to put in the graft, and I want to, I want to sort of spread this out there a little bit. And yeah, it's just something that was kind of always in the back of my mind, like, yeah, I would like to get more people on board now and like get this out there. And as well, like for the writing, maybe for the next release, I mean, I'm already writing stuff, but it'll be quite refreshing actually to have other people's input with that, and I think that will help creatively as well. And again, that might go in a completely different direction. I mean,
Yeah.
there's kind of nothing's off limits like with this. So yeah, it's quite it's definitely yeah, it was definitely part of the plan, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, on the topic of playing with other people, like I've got some relatively limited experience of playing in bands myself. Like I started out making music with a friend of mine here in Glasgow
Mm,
about I don't even remember how long ago it was now, like 15 years ago, something
yeah.
like that. And to start with, we were just like basically we were sitting in my flat getting stoned. We had a I think we had a mini disc recorder at the time, and
Wow.
we had some kind of keyboard with various different drum patterns that my
Yeah.
flatmate had. And so we do is basically just like we cancel everything out. We just play a drum pattern and I just start coming up with some guitar over it and he'd basically improvise lyrics.
Yeah.
And then this eventually turned into a band. And we never really got beyond just playing around different places in Glasgow. But I had that experience of, the regularity of playing with people and that kind of, you write stuff together and people can input different ideas and
Yeah.
that can be all great. But then on the other hand, of course, the other aspect to it is that you depend on these people. And so if people go AWOL or if people don't have the time or they're unavailable or whatever, you're sort of slowed down to what everyone else is
Yeah.
capable of.
Yeah. Completely.
And so then on the other hand, like I've had times where I've done stuff myself, and then that can also be great and you have the all autonomy, but then everything rests on you, which can both be a positive or a negative as well.
Completely.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have started with doing stuff myself without being in a band before. So have you had some previous experience playing in bands or you went straight into doing stuff yourself?
A bit of both. When I was like a teenager, like I used to play the bass and I used to jam with like my friends. When I was at school, like we would just like go around houses and just like jam. We'd never be good enough to play shows or anything, but like we would just play like Metallica songs and things like that and Slayer songs. But then, yeah, as I kind of like got older, like when I was in my 20s, I completely abandoned like live music and heavy music and went into DJing. And I really resonate with what you say about like it all kind of falls on you when you go solo. But then on the other hand, you're not really having to rely on people who might not, they might not be able to make rehearsals or things like that. And I think for me, that kind of like, I just thought, well, I'm in complete control. Like the only, it's all the pressure just rests on me. I haven't got to worry in case like someone, is ill or something like that. Like it's all just on me. So I got experience through playing shows like DJing all over the UK from 2008 until I think 2016. And yeah, I played like everywhere. I played at Ministry of Sound, and again, like that was really good experience. But for someone like me, it was also showing me that like because I was only in my 20s, and I still feel like you're still quite young at that age, and I was realizing when I was getting booked, I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I've been booked for like, hey, look, I've been booked for Ministry of Sound. I've been booked like to play in Birmingham, like da 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 da. And then 2 weeks before it, I'd be like, oh God, I don't know if I want to do this. The day before, how can I get out of this? Um, and then when I'm there, it's like the best feeling in the world. And you're kind of like you're just controlling the room, especially if it's like packed. Sometimes I play to no one, but like when I was playing to like packed rooms, it is the high of that is just it's just immeasurable. So yeah, I think that's going to be something that I'm going to presumably that feeling is going to return to me again if we do start playing shows as this now. But yeah, I've kind of had experience of I suppose more experience of being solo than working with other people, and I'm quite excited. I think to see what it will be like. I've read a lot of like biographies and things of musicians who have had issues with bandmates and things like that, but I really don't think this is serious enough at the moment to kind of worry about who's getting paid, who's not getting paid. We're not going to get paid. Like
Yeah.
we just want to play, you know. And so yeah, I'm kind of more excited about it at the moment. I think to include other people with it now. Yeah.
And given that you created and you recorded and played all the different parts, when it comes to putting an actual band together for performances, what are you going to play and what's the setup going to be?
So Joe is going, who's coming down from Medway. He is going to be doing drums. Ali, who I met, who's actually in a punk band called Mugshot from Folkestone, he's going to be on bass, and I'm going to be on guitar and just general verbal abuse through a microphone.
And something that I saw in an interview with you that I thought was really interesting, you mentioned something about having had a surgery that went wrong, and I think you said that after that you had to relearn to play guitar. And I would imagine that, going back to what you were talking about with the evolution of the sort of topics and talking about introspection, misanthropy, and depression, that maybe some of that stems from the experience that you had there. So tell me the story of what happened with that and how you managed to get back into playing again.
Sure. So I had like pain in my arm for like about 10 years, and it prevented me from like, I wasn't able to like work out or things like, because I would just get this shooting pain all up my arm. I thought I'd sprained it or broken something, and it was just like, when you break a bone or something, and like it's always going to be weak after that. I thought I'd done something like that from when I was a kid, but yeah, it turned out I had a tumor growing on my radial nerve, which is like the main nerve that runs all the way down your arm into your fingers, and went to hospital to have it removed. But the surgeon had, the tumor was wrapped so much, like it had so many nerves wrapped around it, that I think it was like a 3-4 hour surgery of him having to like painstakingly take all of these nerves out of the way to then remove the tumor. And he sliced like through my radial nerve. So when I like was in recovery, I couldn't move my fingers really at all. I could make a fist, but then I couldn't unmake a fist. Like I couldn't flex. So picking up the guitar was like, it was like flopping ham against the fretboard. It was just like I couldn't do anything.
And how
So
long ago was that?
this was the beginning of 2023. So it was quite recent, yeah. And then towards the end of it, I had to have a nerve transplant, which is where the surgeon took a nerve out of here, transplanted it to where the radial nerve that he'd severed was, and that has kind of given me a bit more mobility, like in my fingers, so I can move them. I had physio right up until November, actually, last year. That I've been discharged from it and everything. So that process is finally over. But playing guitar was actually really good for helping my like dexterity, my fingers again. Luckily, I'm left-handed, so it didn't impact like my entire life, but it did impact like my fret hand. So I feel like in the first album or the first demo, that really is me kind of just doing physio, but also at the same time writing and stuff like that.
That's really fascinating. So kind of like the whole life of the project so far is kind of like the process of you recovering from this
Yeah,
surgery.
pretty much. Like, yeah, it's kind of a documented process of my recovery, and yeah, Blood and Oil, like the most recent that I started having ideas for that at the end of 24, but most of that was done last year, right up until, yeah, when I was discharged pretty much. So yeah, it's been a long journey with that, but I mean, it's still not 100%, but it never will be. But
Mm.
the fact that I can play is good enough for me, to be honest. Like, yeah, I'm not even very good at the guitar, to be honest. I never was before, but to play this kind of music, like I needed to be able to at least, form chords and things. So.
Yeah. So I'm left-handed as well, but I guess I made a conscious decision when I started playing guitar to play right-handed guitars
Yeah,
because I just decided, oh, this will make my life a lot easier.
yeah,
So this is your right hand, so this is your actually what you're forming the chords with is
yeah,
with that.
yeah,
So in a way, I guess I can kind of see that that is going to be like if you're being told by a physio you got to do certain exercises,
yeah,
making different chord shapes and holding them down is going to give you kind of like different organic movements that you're going to be
100%.
repeating and getting more strength.
Yeah, 100%. I was like I was like doing like bar chords and things and like exercises of just like almost like spider walking or trying to like on the fretboard. And another good thing as well was trying to just learn songs from like bands that weren't even really metal, like almost like dream pop bands that I was like listening to, but where they were having like almost like shoegazy chords, and that was quite good to learn, like to try and help like move my fingers more, get that like momentum back. I mean, I couldn't trill, I couldn't do anything that I used to do. That's like come back now, but yeah, it was quite daunting, I think, because I just thought I don't think I'm going to be able to play like again, and then if so, like what am I going to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I probably would have found an alternative. I could have just, I don't know, not made this kind of music and just done more sort of noise, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess noise would always be available one way or
Yeah.
another. So then had you already conceptualized this project before you had the surgery?
I'd no, I mean it kind of ran in tandem. Like I had this idea when the pandemic happened. I wanted to do something like this, but I didn't really sort of it didn't really come into fruition until after my surgery. I was signed off work and I was just sitting kind of rotting away thinking like oh, I need to get some like creativity out of me, like as I'm sure like you can like imagine, like if you've got ideas floating around in your head, you need to get them out, otherwise it just I don't know, like for me it makes me depressed almost
Oh,
if I can't.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's funny for me, and I've thought about this a fair bit and I've talked to the people about it. Like I've got a few different outlets. Like I used to run a lot and then I kind of lost the love for that. And now what I do is I do Thai boxing.
Wow, okay, yeah.
But I actually, back in December, I was sparring with someone and I kicked them as they kicked me. And I think I broke one of my toes.
Oh god.
So I've kind of been, this is also terrible because I haven't actually been to A&E to get it x-rayed. So I'm just like, it doesn't appear to be, I'm either going today or tomorrow to
Wow,
actually finally,
okay.
this is like 6 weeks later to
This
like,
is your wake up
is
call.
it broken? Well, it's ridiculous as well because I'm going to Thailand next week to do, it would be an exaggeration to call it a camp. I'm just basically going to go and do some training
Wow, okay.
which I've done before. And it was partly
Yeah.
because I was like, I've got to survive the Scottish winter. So it'd be nice to go to Thailand and just basically like have hot weather and eat Thai food and then do some Thai boxing.
Yeah.
But so like I do that and that's a great outlet. And if I can't do any kind of exercise, definitely there's the potential of starting to feel pretty down.
Mm.
But then there's also the creative side of things, like there's making music, there's writing stuff. And I've ended up in doing a lot of like, writing about music or interviewing people. And I really
Yeah.
enjoy that. It's great fun, but it doesn't quite, in a way, satisfy the same need as creating stuff myself. And equally,
Yeah.
the Thai boxing also doesn't quite satisfy that need as well. So I
Sure.
feel like whatever else I'm doing, I do sort of need to be creating something. So I can very much relate to that. And I think that's probably the same for a lot of people. Like sometimes I'm interviewing people, it's like I'll say to them, "Why do you make music?" And a lot of the time they'll be like, "I just have to."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think it's just, I don't know. I think you're either born with it or you're not. Like, there's a part of your brain that just needs to create. And I think, like you were saying, doing interviews and things and writing about music, that is still a form of creativity. But I feel like writing music or any kind of like art form is is pure creation. It's something from nothing, and you can bring in any kind of influence and things like that. And it's just the ultimate for me. Like it's the ultimate form of like meditation in a weird way. Like
Mm.
it's just you're thinking in a slightly higher like way, but it's tapping into like your subconscious and things like that. And yeah, I think it's healthy as well. You know, it's and which is probably why a hell of a lot of people and a hell of a lot of bands and artists wrote so much over COVID, like during lockdown, as a way of coping, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. On the topic of the releases themselves, so with Live Fast Die Slow, you put that out with Remorseless Records that
Yes.
are based in the US, and you're going to be doing the same with Blood and Oil, right? With putting it out on CD. So how did that? I mean, I know in the digital age, we've got all these connections that we wouldn't have had before. I mean, I guess at a certain point there would have been like, physically sending tapes
Yeah.
from one place to another. But how did you end up linking up with Remorseless Records for putting out releases for this?
So after I did the demo, chewed up and spat out, Kyle Pangburn from Remorseless Records was kind of we were kind of in tandem. He had just started Remorseless Records maybe the same year. Actually, I think he started. No, tell a lie. Actually, I think he started actually 2024, but it was around like a similar time because I did actually put that out in June of 2024, and he approached me and said, "Do you want me to? Would you like me to like distribute this on CD in certain areas in America?" And I must admit, I just kind of like, really, are you sure? It's just a demo, but sure enough, like I was like, yeah, cool, go for it. And when it came to doing the next record, like Live Fast Die Slow, again, I really didn't think too much into it. I just kind of thought I'll go back to Kyle, and you know, he seems to be putting out quite different things. Like there seems to be like almost technical death metal like that he puts out, as well as more sort of like sludgy stuff, and then more like grindcore stuff. And yeah, we seem to have had, and he's helped so much with like just promotion and kind of getting me aware of like how things work with like releases. I mean, he helped me like set me up with getting it on Spotify last year, which I had no idea about. I was very much considering just doing a DistroKid thing and just doing that. But yeah, no, Kyle was more than happy to like digitally release it, and again with Blood and Oil, he was like, sure, should we do it again? So yeah, we did it. It works well, like, and he kind of just he just supports me, and like I say, I think we have kind of a understanding because we both started at the same time. You
Yeah.
know, I've never met the guy, but it's all been through email, you know,
Yep.
and message, and yeah, I can't thank him enough. He's really been like the number one guy for advice and just helping like distribute this stuff along the way, really. Yeah.
And for you personally, I guess maybe just as much a fan as for someone who's making music, how important is the physical side of music to you?
It is important. It definitely is important. I remember being like young, like in my teenage years, and going to like HMV or Virgin and going through CDs and buying them just based on what the cover is,
Yeah.
and then going home and sometimes being disappointed, but sometimes being like, wow. Like a great example of that is Electric Wizard. I bought Don't Throne and I'd never heard them before. And that really just kind of like changed changed something in me that like, wow, you really can like this sounds evil. Like, and same with Relapse Records. I bought a
Yeah.
sampler from them, a CD, and I was like, who are Relapse? Looked on the back and I was like, oh, Mastodon, I've heard of them. Nile, I've heard of them. and took it home, and that's how I discovered Today Is the Day, The Descent, and that like was a very significant time for me. So yeah, I think without that, without that physical thing, I might never have discovered it. But I don't know if it's kind of it's weird. Like we've had a big resurgence of vinyl, obviously, like in the last decade, more than that, really. And I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of CDs, and I don't ever want to part with them because they're part of like my makeup, really, like of bands that, and I've had to like scour when I was younger, like when I discovered like, Eyehategod, I was like, why doesn't HMV have Eyehategod? Like, you'd have to go to eBay, or you'd have to go
Yeah.
to like some weird little independent place to try and find it, or get them to order it in from the States. And
I'm just imagining like that, the complaint letter. Dear HMV, why don't you stock I Hate
yeah,
God?
yeah, why is there no pig destroyer? You know, why is there no agoraphobic nosebleed? Like, why is there none of this? So yeah, it is. I think it's just also a reflection of the time, though. Like, it's. I'm very mixed about it, as probably like my answers like probably showing, but something about having it physically, like there is something really nice about that, and it feels like it does feel almost complete having
Yeah.
it as like a package thing. The same for me as well with like VHS or DVD. Like it's kind of the same thing. Like you look at a film, like when you years ago, if you go to Blockbuster and you'd see a cover and you'd be like, whoa, that looks good, let's see what it's like. And
Mm,
there's I just feel like that's kind of not really around anymore. But then on the flip side of that, I have found so much music through streaming that I could probably never have found through just physical media alone. I
yeah.
mean, Spotify recommends like things like that has led me to some like really underground stuff that again I just would never have heard of from all over the world. So yeah, it's hard. There's pros and cons, but and I can see it's expensive as well,
Mm,
to create like vinyl and things like that. Like I would love to do that, but yeah, that isn't without its costs. So
yeah. No,
yeah.
I definitely agree with you. I think like for me, with the physical side of the music, away from the whole conversation about differences in sound,
Mm,
I do think that there's something about kind of like even just sort of like the ritual of having a physical artifact and going, right, I'm choosing to listen to this, and the
yeah,
experience
yeah,
of taking it out and sticking it in. And if you have pictures and you have liner notes and all this
yeah,
kind of stuff. But I definitely do see the other side of it as well, that like as much as you can have that excitement of going somewhere and picking something out, and it's like you don't know what it's going to be and you put it on and you can get that great surprise. On the other hand, it's like if you're going to be spending money
yeah.
on music and then you're disappointed, that's also a total bummer as well. So to have that opportunity to be able to just find just this gigantic multitude of music that
Yeah,
otherwise you would never hear is also a great thing. So I wouldn't want
100%.
to like eliminate one for the sort of like the purity of the other.
Yeah, completely. I am no way in any way, shape. I mean, I have vinyl, but I am in no way, shape, or form like a vinyl purist. Um, oh, you must listen to this because it sounds so much better, and it's like, nah. I mean, there's a warmth, I suppose, but then everyone's going to say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a crackle, but it just, yeah. To me, like I agree with you. I think it has its place, but with streaming and things, it gives bands, smaller bands, like a voice as well. I
Yeah.
think, like who might not be financially able to have backing from a label to be able to get things distributed on vinyl, CD, tape, things like that, and but can still put it out there. A great example, Bandcamp.
Yep.
So yeah.
And so, thinking about the forthcoming release and then your plans with the shows, have you sort of got concrete ideas of where you want to play and when you want to play and how much you want to play?
because I still consider this to be in like its very beginning stages, I don't want to put too much pressure on like, oh yeah, I really want to get like 20, 30 shows over the next like 3, 4 months. I don't want anything. I mean, that sounds horrendous. So I think I think it's going to be kind of get rehearsals going to start with, which, as I say, that begins Sunday actually. So get that going. Because I've got two albums worth of material that we can all learn, and then maybe I'm kind of imagining maybe autumn time to just play local. I think to start with, like I have absolutely no like I don't consider myself like, oh yeah, we're gonna go up to London, we're gonna go tour like Europe, we're gonna go to America and things like that. Like I can't see that happening. If it does, amazing. But I think it would be kind of wrong to be like, yeah, we're going to do that and just kind of skip out thinking like you need humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Play locally, build a fan base. And that's what I want to do. I mean, as I say, I don't go out a huge amount to shows locally, but I know from social media that these things are happening all over the place. And it would be a great way for me to kind of meet more people, meet more like-minded people, maybe collaborate in some way. And yeah, I think it would just, that would probably just scratch the itch for me of just playing, but not to an excessive amount. I think I'm not one of these people who is like, yeah, we're gonna make it, we're gonna tour, we're gonna like, go everywhere. I'm just not, that isn't for me at all.
I mean, yeah, from the point of view of not having expectations of conquering the world, it's probably for the best, given that you decided to call the project Blunt Knife Castration.
100%. Yeah. Definitely.
There's always going to be an aspect that it's quite niche.
Yeah, completely.
But having said that, if Cannibal Corpse can sell 1 million copies, then, a lot of things are possible that might not seem possible.
And appear on Ace Ventura.
I know, it's so bizarre to look back on that. Well, Simon, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
And
you. Yeah, I hope you get a good reception when Blood and Oil comes out. And yeah, hopefully I'll get the chance to see you. Oh, that was the one thing as well I was going to say. So in terms of people getting hold of the album, you've got everything on Bandcamp. You mentioned things are going to be on Spotify. People can order the CD or they can get it digitally.
Yeah.
In terms of like following what's going on with the project, Instagram and Facebook, is that right?
Yeah. I kind of need to work a bit harder on my socials. Like I think the main one I kind of use is Instagram, but I do have a Facebook, which I think is just presumably just Blunt Knife Castration, if I remember rightly. I think that's just what it is. You just type that in, you'll find it, no doubt. But yeah, I do need to kind of it's just hard when you're on your own.
Yeah, it's also like it's like an energy drain as well, because I have this all the time. I'm just like, I should be doing more posts and publicizing things. It's just like, but I want to do something creative.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Algorithm.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. Like the whole writing process, recording, producing, like everything is that's it. It's all this stuff afterwards of like, right, now I need to like promote this, now I need to like get this out there and stuff like that. That's kind of like not so fun stuff. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best place to kind of see like recent updates and things.
Yeah.
And as like you mentioned, like Bandcamp and Remorseless Records as well, like especially if you're in the States, like to order through them and stuff. So yeah.
Nice. I will put links to all these things.
Awesome.
Simon, until next time, thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.